Hello, welcome to the Mythology Manifest. Last Saturday I did a video on Sophocles' Oedipus Rex, as it's one of the three plays me and my classics class are going to be studying when we return to college. For today's video I am going to be doing the same but with another of the three plays. This video is going to be on the play The Bacchae, written by Euripides. I hope you enjoy it. So firstly I am going to go over the plot of The Bacchae. So it's all about Dionysus, the god of wine, festivities, religious ecstasy and fertility, as he returns to his birthplace in Thebes in order to clear his mother's name and to punish the city-state as they refused to allow people to worship him. We're told the background of his return in the prologue, in which Dionysus tells the story of his mother Semele, once a princess of Thebes. She had an affair with Zeus, became pregnant, and as revenge, Zeus's jealous wife Hera tricked Semele into asking Zeus to appear in his divine form. The god's true form was far too powerful for a mortal to see, and Zeus emerged from the sky as a bolt of lightning and burnt Semele to death. Zeus managed, however, to rescue his unborn son from Semele's womb and stitched the baby into his thigh. Semele's family claimed that she had been struck by lightning for lying about Zeus, and that her child, the product of an illicit human affair, had died with her. And this ruined Semele's reputation and made the people of Thebes reject the young god Dionysus. And his name actually means twice born. I've done a video on this quite early on in my channel, so feel free to go and check that out if you want to. The action of the play begins with Dionysus returning to Thebes years later. He arrives in town disguised as a stranger, accompanied by a band of Bacchantes, which means a group of priests who worshipped Dionysus, or to the Romans, Bacchus, which is where the name Bacchae comes from. He arrives to punish the royal family for their treatment of his mother and their refusal to give him offerings and worship. During Dionysus' absence, Semele's father, Cadmus, handed over the kingdom to his proud and hubristic grandson Pentheus, and it was actually Pentheus' decision to not allow the worship of Dionysus. Dionysus tells the audience, when he arrives in Thebes, that he drove Semele's sisters mad, and that they fled to Mount Catharion to worship him and perform his rites on the mountainside. As the ruler of the state, Pentheus finds himself threatened by the Dionysian rites that are bringing the women from the city into the forest and driving them mad. Unconvinced that it was Dionysus who had caused their insanity, he sees their drunken partying as an attempt to escape laws set by him for the Theban society to follow. Pentheus orders his soldiers to arrest the stranger Dionysus and his followers, whom he sees as the root of the troubles, even though he doesn't know that Dionysus is who he is. Dionysus allows himself to be easily arrested and taken to Pentheus with the others. In the first of three encounters, Dionysus begins the long process of trapping Pentheus and leading him to his death. The encounters begin with the powerful Pentheus thinking he has caught a delicate stranger. He orders his prisoner to be chained and tortured, but soon finds it impossible to do so. When Pentheus tries to tie Dionysus up, he ends up tying a bull. When Pentheus tries to stab Dionysus, the blade passes through shadows. Suddenly an earthquake shakes the palace, a fire starts, and Pentheus is left weak and incredibly confused. In their second meeting, Dionysus tries to persuade Pentheus to abandon his destructive path, but Pentheus does not want to give up. A man arrives in Thebes and explains that he saw the women on the mountaintop worshipping Dionysus. He says that all the women were seen blissfully in the forest resting, feasting on milk, honey and wine that sprang from the ground. They played music, suckled wild animals, and sang and danced with joy. But when they saw the man, they flew into a murderous rage and chased after him, trying to kill him. The man says that he barely escaped, but his herd of cattle were captured and torn apart by hand by the Maenads, the mad women, including Pentheus' mother, Agau. Pentheus is left intrigued and excited by the messenger's tale. Dionysus takes note of Pentheus' interest and offers him a chance to see the Maenads for himself. Pentheus, on the verge of launching a military expedition to arrest the women, suddenly cannot resist the opportunity to see the forbidden insane women. He agrees to do all Dionysus suggests and dresses himself in a wig and long skirts. It worked, as Pentheus was already quite effeminate, and he is stripped of his masculinity and authority as he dresses as a woman, and is revealed as a vain, boastful, and lecherous creature. Once in the woods, Pentheus cannot see the Bacchantes from the ground, and wants to climb a tree for a better view of them and the Dionysian ritual taking place. Using his godly power, Dionysus bends a fir tree, puts Pentheus on top, and straightens the tree. And still Pentheus doesn't realise that Dionysus is a god, but that's only because he's in a disguise. At once the Maenads see him, and Dionysus orders them to attack the vulnerable ruler. With frenzied cries, the women attack Pentheus, dragging him to the ground. As he falls, Pentheus tries to find his mother's face, and pleads with her to recognise her son, but Agao is driven mad by Dionysus and proceeds to rip her son apart. The end of the play takes place at the palace, where the chorus is exultant and singing the praises of Dionysus. Agao returns home with Pentheus's head in her hands, and she is still magically deluded, and boasts to all about the young lion she hunted and beheaded, unaware that it was actually her son. Cadmus, who knows what has happened, sadly approaches his daughter and draws her mind back to the palace, her family, and finally what she is holding in her hands. Agao begins to weep, and Cadmus remarks that the god had punished the family rightly, but excessively. In the end, Dionysus finally appears in his true form to the city. He banishes Agao from Thebes and ordains that Cadmus and his wife will turn into snakes, destined to invade Greek lands. And that is the end of the Bacchae. This play's themes are politics, as Pentheus is desperate to force Thebes to conform to his ideas and views on Dionysus; justice and revenge, as the play is all about Dionysus getting justice for his mother's ruined name and reputation, and justice against those who refuse to worship him; religious rituals and acts, as the play features many Dionysian rituals, as well as Dionysus being key to theatre and the Dionysia; and the final major theme would have to be the gods, as this play represents their obsession with being worshipped and demonstrates their wrath and terrible power. The Bacchae was written by the somewhat controversial Euripides. This play is less controversial than some of his others, as it does not show strong women or weak men, but it does show the destruction of a monarch, something that the Greeks would find shocking. Euripides became more popular after his death, and the Bacchae actually won the Dionysia after his death. He also had the gods appear on stage much more than any other playwright, and most shockingly of all, he had mortals, such as Pentheus, challenge the gods. I would say that this play does fit with Freytag's triangle very well. At the beginning, we have our incentive moment as Dionysus arrives wanting revenge. Then here we get the Daesis, as the women are driven mad and Dionysus is captured. The action rises as he is captured and tortured by Pentheus, and the man arrives telling the tale of the mad women on the mountain. Just before the climax, we have Dionysus offer to show Pentheus the women. Then we get our climax here, and Peripeteia, as Pentheus is spotted and pulled down from the tree. Our denouement and falling action happens at this point, as he is ripped apart by his own mother. And finally, we have our end and resolution as they all return to Thebes. Cadmus is punished, Agao is banished, and Pentheus is dead, and Dionysus finally has his revenge. Now, does this play fit the three main elements of a tragic plot? Suffering, I would say there is plenty of suffering throughout the play, as women are driven mad and Pentheus has his world crumbling around him. Next should come recognition. Now, I would say that we don't get that in this play, purely because Pentheus never accepts or realises that Dionysus is in front of him, and he never realises it is the fault of him that the women are going mad. But we do get the final bit, which is reversal, as Dionysus has Pentheus killed, gets his revenge, and things pretty much go back to normal afterwards. So we get suffering and reversal from this tragedy, but not recognition. But as Meatloaf says, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. Finally, I would like to discuss Pentheus as a character, and see whether he fits the role of a tragic hero. So is he of high status? That would be a yes, as he is king of Thebes. Number 2, is he morally grey? So is he neither 100% good or 100% bad? Again, I would say yes. He doesn't mean to hurt anybody by not allowing them to worship Dionysus, but it happens anyway because he's stupid. And finally, number 3, does he make a fatal mistake which leads to his downfall? Does he have a hamartia? This again would be a yes. His hamartia would be that he believed he could offend a god and not have any comeuppance from it, and this ultimately leads to his death. So yes, I would argue that Pentheus is a good example of a tragic hero. And that is all I really wanted to say about Euripides' Bacchae. I think it's a really interesting play and I am looking forward to studying it when I go back to college. If you enjoyed this video or found it useful, then please do like, comment or subscribe. I have done a video on the birth of Dionysus, which is in my Greek Mythology Manifest playlist, and I have also done a video explaining Oedipus Rex, so feel free to check those out if you want to. This video will join others, such as all of my ones on Greek theatre and Sophocles' Oedipus Rex in my revision material playlist, and you can check those out if you want to. If you like, you could also follow this channel's Twitter at the Mythology MA1, which there is a link to in the description below. Let's keep classics alive. Thanks for watching. I will see you next time on the Mythology Manifest.